good evening, and thank you for joining us for Get Into It with Taz and Chris,
And the resident ginger. All
who's already celebrating St. Patty's Day.
right.
Cheers.
Like I said, cheers.
Cheers. Now we're gonna kick this off with our favorite global scamster. We have an update on Miss Anna Delvey, and
Woo.
it just keeps getting. I don't know if it's getting better or if it's getting worse. I don't know how to describe it, but here we
Yeah.
go.
Anna Delvey slash Sorokin was supposed to be deported from the US last night to arrive in Germany this morning, but she never arrived in Frankfurt. Where is she? It's been reported she threw a toddler-style tantrum, and it worked. The government would never want to admit that such a tantrum works. Here is what she could do today. Since her deportation order was filed on February 17th, she technically still has 30 days to file an appeal, which has not yet been filed, but if filed today, she won't be deported until that appeal is heard. Right now, it's taken about 6 months for appeals to be heard.
She just bought herself 6 more months of
The
being
plot
able to
thickens.
scam people.
Social media time. Yep. The plot thickens. We're going to have another Netflix special. 6 months. Hey.
This woman has white women tiered her way through so much. Like, US government, did you not read the trial transcripts? You let her do, and that's a minimum of 6 months.
Yeah.
She hasn't filed her appeal yet. So by the time she gets around to filing it,
Mm-hmm.
it might be the waiting list might be a couple years. Like
I told you. We're going to have another special.
Anna,
An Anna immigration special. No longer inventing the
it just
deporting Anna. And it'll be another series.
yeah, that just Lord
And then
have
when I see, like, every time I see pictures of this girl, I'm just like, this is the girl that, like, reeled you all in. Like,
right, because
I just
she
don't
does.
see it. Like, there's really nothing flashy or special. I mean, that's somebody that you could see down the street somewhere at your local whatever.
Right, she does not fit the part at
No.
all.
Mm-mm.
I don't understand how she convinced people
Yeah.
that
Like, they really bought into her story. Like, she must be, she says she must be this heiress. Um, they just went on word of mouth, no proof, no nothing, and she
and
spun her
because
web.
she acted entitled, so they just believed she was entitled. I'm like,
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
but my thing is, and here's the kicker. Many years ago, there's a group of people that I hung out with, and I stopped hanging out with them because it seemed like every time I was around, I was footing the bill. All of a sudden, people were not reaching for wallets. People weren't doing a lot of things, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like you can always tell when somebody just doesn't have it. Like one guy who tried to date me years ago, and on a date that he asked me out on was like, you never spend any money. We aren't in a relationship. Please tell me why I should be spending money on you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, we're in a cheap ass dive bar at that. How much? Ooh, you spent $20 tonight. Like, go sit down.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah, that's like you were mentioning it. That feeds into the whole Rachel friends. Um, Very much expecting tabs to be picked up. Um, Very much about, yeah, I might have money, but you obviously always have more. I mean, it's just that expectations of riding the coattail. No
Hmm.
matter how successful you may think you are, you're looking at this other person as, oh, but I'm not that. you know?
This whole Anna Delvey thing reminds me of this online argument that comes and goes all across social media from time to time. And I didn't even know people were doing this until social media. But You invite a group of friends out to dinner. Everybody eats, the bill comes. And then they're like, "Oh, so we're just going to split this. There's 5 of us 5 ways." Hold up, puppy. You ordered a $300 bottle of wine. I did not. I am not splitting this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no. When you have that expectation that, "Ooh, I can go live my best life," and
Mm-hmm.
other people can subsidize it, no. And I'm tired of people going, "Well, if you're broke, just say it." Nope, it has nothing to do with being broke. Everybody has a personal budget that they set in order for them to sustain themselves. You're not going to offset my budget, whether I have money, more money in the bank or not, because I don't set my budget to
Yeah.
spend every single dime that I have. No, if I came here planning on spending $50 to $100, that's what I'm going to spend because that's what I'm going to order. Just because you want to live like Anna Delvey doesn't mean I'm splitting the bill. And that's how both Rachel and Anna were. And I think that's why Rachel is so butthurt. And
Right.
I'm like, Rachel, you wasn't picking up no tabs either.
I mean, there's a whole way of thinking. Like when you're the person that is living off of this other person's money, more or less. Um, I can't gravitate around that because for me personally, I'm always about if somebody's offering something, a lot of times my first instinct is to say, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. No, no thanks. You don't have to do that. You know,
Mhm.
my first instinct is to not use them because I always look at people as you're spending money that you earned. Like that's money you made. So, I mean, if I'm able to help, I will help. But first instinct, no, I'd rather not just take because I'm going to feel like I'm a taker. Um, and that's just not me. Some people are very much have no shame in their game when it comes to, great, you're going out. Hey, I know if I don't bring my money out too quick, you'll go ahead and pick it up. So
And
it
I'm the
really
queen
it
of
really
sitting.
comes down to that person, like we were saying about Rachel. She is that person. Like she may have felt like she was taken to the bank over these things, but she was very much expecting to live off of somebody else's wealth, regardless if she knew it was real or not.
Very much so. Oh, but coming in hot from Huffington Post. A
Hmm.
Ukraine expert, Alexander Vindman, humiliates Marjorie Taylor Greene with brutal fact check.
Oh boy.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay.
It's like,
Marjorie's tweet. Number one, tragically, people are dying because of Biden's poor decision making leading up to Putin declaring war on Ukraine. Biden's weakness and failure as a leader not only has put America last, but is a danger to the entire world.
didn't we just go through 4 years of that before?
Here comes the fact check. Nope, it's because you and your pro Putin party encouraged Putin to invade by cheerleading him. Worse yet, you undermined the POTUS effort to signal punishing costs. You undermine U.S. efforts to deter the war. You have blood in your hands. The American people will not forget.
Yeah, they're quick to forget that the guy that they swore allegiance to and bent the knee, he was anti-NATO, he was anti-allies, he was anti everything as an authoritarian. So you're criticizing somebody who is actually trying to be for this stuff and getting consultation on what would be the wisest choice to do certain things without creating a world war. And yet, you know good and well, you supported a man that is all for that. He's all for the Putin. Um,
And they're also forgetting that they're voting against everybody's best interest.
yeah, but they're doing this because they realize that once the invasion got started, oh, it's not popular now to be public about certain things, so we better just change it a little bit.
Well, not only that,
Yeah, but we still know their stance. We still knew their stance.
but they now need to blame Biden for everything that Trump did.
Mm.
It's like I will never understand the MAGA hat anti-vaxxers that will look you in the face and go, "Well, Trump developed the vaccine in rapid speed. What did Biden do? So why don't you take the vaccine?" Well, it was created too quickly, but I thought y'all loved everything that Trump did, and Trump was perfect.
Trump pulled weapon support for Ukraine. They would have been better off by now had they had a little bit more to work with. But he tried to basically use that so that he could talk him into trying to look into Biden.
Mm-hmm. And for those
So
of you that don't believe in the defund the police campaign, let me tell you one thing about this war. Our police forces have so much military grade equipment in surplus that they are now shipping it over to the Ukraine to those soldiers to help them out.
mhm.
The weapons that the police in the United States have to
Police.
police its citizens are going to war.
Yeah.
Think about that. What other country can send their police weapons
Mm-hmm.
to the Ukraine?
A surplus, not just police weapons, a large surplus. So it's not like guys are giving up their weapons. These are surplus.
And that's what we mean by defund the police. Why are our police officers walking around with military grade anything?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Look at our SWAT teams. You send our SWAT teams in the small countries right there.
We could.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have a bit of kind of sort of maybe if you tilt your head and squint your eyes, good news, I think. Um and this is good grief. This is from the LA Times. MLB lockout ends as players and team owners agree to new contract terms. Can the Dodgers get back to the World Series? Can Mike
Right.
Trout carry the Angels into the playoffs? Was last year's epic pennant race between the Dodgers and San Francisco Giants a one-time classic or the start of another stellar chapter in the storied rivalry? A long winter reduced to debates about tax rates and bonus pools has ended, and baseball's spring finally has dawned. 3 months after Major League owners locked out players and declared not another game would be played without a new collective bargaining agreement, the league and the players' union agreed Thursday on a 5-year deal. The deal includes a full 162 game season this year, starting April 7th. I am genuinely thrilled to be able to say that Major League Baseball is back, Commissioner Rob Manfred said, and we're going to play 162 games. The changes most visible to fans are an expansion of the playoffs from 10 to 12 teams and the addition of the designated hitter to the National League. The game will revert to traditional extra inning rules, ending the experiment of starting each extra inning with a runner on second base in an attempt to hasten an ending. And starting next year, every team will play every other team at least once during a season.
Right. So, are you saying this will benefit the Reds? Okay. Well, I am glad that they're back. Regardless what it took, because the players need to make sure the players were taken care of, just like in any sport where it's owners versus everyone. Baseball is just different than NBA and NFL. Obviously, they play a whole lot of games, but it also just comes down to making sure the athletes are taken care of. Like I say, you got a very, baseball is another very diverse sport. And everyone needs to be accounted for and treated accordingly. This always has to be done just as a reminder to these owners that players are more than just your money makers. They have families, they have lives they got to take care of. So whatever can benefit the players as a whole should always be considered. And if they have to hold out or sit out, they got to do what they got to do. Get the work done.
And not only just
nobody really likes a short season because obviously it cuts into their pay. Usually,
see,
but
not just them, because they're making big bucks and they need to,
yeah.
if managed properly. But a lot of people forget about the people who truly, truly lose out: the stadium employees, the valets, the parking attendant workers, the cleaning crews, the people who own and work in restaurants around the cities they're playing in, around the country, things like that.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. all the local income, including the staff. It's a big.
And it's like
It's
when
big.
when these seasons get cut short and things like that, it's the players lose out, but the players don't lose out that much. That's like if Jeff Bezos shut down Amazon for a week. Will he lose money? Technically, yeah. Will he go broke? Hell no.
Mm-hmm. Right. So hopefully we'll see how it goes now. I think that's it's not a long deal. I think it's, what was it, 3 to 5 or somewhere in there. So it's enough to hold things over right now. But obviously they don't want to make it too long because there's always, times are changing. So you don't want to make sure you stay current with whatever's changing. You don't want to be trapped. You don't want to be trapped in something long term.
Like
So
we are with Mitch McConnell. Because this relationship with Mitch McConnell got to end.
Yeah, and all of the all of his interns that still looked up to him.
Yeah.
Cameron.
Speaking of the GOP, out of Axios Denver, GOP leader calls for Tina Peters to suspend campaign after indictment. The leader of the Colorado GOP is asking one of the party's candidates to abandon her 2022 statewide campaign. Colorado Republican Party chairperson Christy Burton Brown and other party leaders issued a statement Wednesday calling on Secretary of State candidate Tina Peters to suspend her campaign for Secretary of State after being indicted by a grand jury on 10 criminal charges related to election tampering. It is our belief as leaders of the Colorado Republican Party that any Republican candidate who was indicted with felonies by a grand jury and who will be charged by a Republican district attorney should suspend their campaign while they undergo the legal challenges associated with those indictments, the statement reads. The criminal charges against Peters, who is favored by supporters of former President Trump, threatens to upend the GOP's chances in a key race and spoil its border message. Even before the charges, top Republican consultants told Axios Denver that Peters' candidacy, don't know why I can't speak to that, could prove disastrous for the party. Now those fears are being amplified.
It's the grapes.
And she's the one who gave classified information to the My Pillow guy, Mr. Lindell.
Ooh, My Pillow.
And she didn't want to give up and got combative with officers who were sent to seize her iPad. She was arrested regarding that. Like it's a laundry list. But I'm like, what did you expect when you allowed Donald Trump to become a mentor to these people? Like
it's like Cawthorn. I mean, you get they're riding a wave of what they think is the direction they're going. And you have a lot of their moderates that are basically don't have a home because they get drowned out and threatened to be further right. They're playing dangerous games. Like I said, where it comes from, it's very real. Because obviously they're using this to affect citizens in this country. They're affecting their own people, like people that don't want to head that direction, that are abandoning party or filling up now the independents that used to be moderate Republicans is filling up quickly. Colorado, just like some other states, are kind of those borderline. I know my sister lives in that state, and it's very unique because Colorado's filled with a lot of open land. So you get a lot of towns that are primarily white. And then you also have a lot of California people that have gone in there that go to college and everything. And they've influenced some areas. I know, especially in a city like Boulder, Colorado, very Democratic, very liberal. But as soon as you get outside of Boulder, conservative. And they're right next to each other. Like, it's very split. And places like that can be very volatile. because they're preaching it in their conservative churches and other areas. So there's people threatening and people doing things, and it's dangerous. And that's where we're at. And in a lot of places, it's very much about picking a team. And if you're somewhere in the middle where you don't want to pick a team, you're kind of lost out. You're kind of on an island. Um, and like I said, it's not going to get better unless some of these people unless they start weeding these things out. And no matter how much they're called out on for supporting Putin or whatever, it just kind of dies out quickly. Nothing ever sticks. That's why we're looking at this 1-6 committee and things in certain areas with Trump and all that to get to the point where if you're at least affiliated at all with Trump anymore in his thinking, it will be costly to you. And we're not there yet. We're not there. Any affiliation to his ideology or authoritarian promotion and all that, you would think that by now, having any of that thinking or affiliation would have been costly to someone's career, knowing how much is coming out and how much was tied to Trump. But it hasn't. It hasn't. And I think that's why we're putting so much weight on the 1-6 to hopefully do this kind of thing where not only do we hold people accountable, we make it we make it basically in the public side criminal to even associate or think in the ways of Trump.
Well, especially since now here's a doozy. Trump fundraisers for new jet after emergency landing. Yep.
Oh, yes.
Former President Donald Trump appears to be fundraising for a new plane after his private jet made an emergency landing over the weekend. Trump's Save America PAC sent an email on Wednesday titled Update Trump Force One. Oh my God. That discussed the construction of a new plane, several news outlets reported. The email was sent hours after news surfaced that a private plane carrying Trump from New Orleans to Mar-a-Lago resort had made an emergency landing Saturday because of an engine failure, Insider reported. The plane reportedly was loaned to Trump by a Republican donor.
Wow.
So he's fundraising to replace a plane that doesn't belong to him, but his followers believe that he's a billionaire, but he doesn't have the money.
He's trying to do like the church funds for the churches that don't use the money for the right.
He is this is who Annie Delvey learned it from. She's just better at it.
Mango Force One.
But we also have
really, like, I need everybody to get me a plane. Don't you want your leader to have a plane? Like, I mean, it's but he's counting on them to do it. He knows there's still those that are sworn their loyal oath, their blood.
And his Trump Force One. Like this, but we have this is a former staffer of the Trump administration with a warning for all. Here we go.
My message to these people is take your lives back. If you are a supporter of Donald Trump and Donald Trump, or God forbid, one of his children, his corrupt children, ends up in the White House, there's going to come a time when the interests of your family, the interests of someone you love, comes up against his interest. And you are going to have to learn the hard way and listen to us who have suffered and experienced this. You're going to have to learn the hard way that he will do anything to destroy you to preserve his interests. That is not a leader. That is not a president, not a deal maker, not a good businessman, not an American. Donald Trump might have been born in this country. I think he's the most foreign president we've ever had. So take your lives back, be a patriot, stand up for freedom, and realize that you've been lied to.
Yeah, but we've tried that. Like, you try talking to them, and they've had too much fruit punch.
Even when they have been left outside at rallies to freeze. They have been locked into rallies and couldn't leave. They have been scammed through their donations where they thought that they were just doing a one-time $50 donation and then realized he automatically set for monthly. And he's bankrupting people and not issuing refunds. They knew when it came to Trump steaks, Trump water, Trump air, Trump University, do I need to go on? But they just
For
I
some for some odd reason, he is a he is more than initially. I think it was more of rock star status to them because ooh, this is a guy that was TV. Ooh, they believed all the cover stuff where ooh, the Trump name, he's got a Trump tower and he's got Trump. They believed the hype. They believed what was on the surface. None of them ever really knew the Trump story. So now it changed into now we've just sworn like we'll take our loyalty to our grave. And those you're just not going to get through because he's already countered that with lies, telling you, don't listen to anybody that's left me is whatever. I mean, he'll, as soon as you turn the corner, you're under the bus. And media people, he's throwing everybody. He's throwing his own lawyers, Michael Cohen. He's throwing everybody under the bus who decided to take back their life.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Barr. Barr totally abused the DOJ. He totally was aboard on everything Trump. He was like literally the worst. But even he, at the end, said, "Okay, I got to draw a line over here." Now, granted, it was all the way at the end, but even he had to draw a line, and then Trump still threw him under the bus. So,
throw his own mother under the bus if he could.
I mean, the cleanup work that Biden's administration has had to do is monumental. I mean, just monumental. I mean, the cleanup work, not just in the White House, we're talking all the agencies, like everywhere, was corrupted with Trump puppets.
Yeah, all the way around the globe.
Everywhere.
Before we head into commercial break, just one thing for any wrestling fans out there. On the 14th, the WWE put out this announcement. WWE is saddened to learn that two-time WWE Hall of Famer Scott Hall has passed away. We extend our condolences to the Hall family, friends, and fans, and many of you will know Scott Hall as Razor Ramon. So, we'll see you in 2 and 2. Enjoy this month's commercial.
2 and 2 is
we're going to kick it off from pitchfork.com. Dolly Parton declines 2022 Rock Hall nomination. And this is her quote. Even though I'm extremely flattered and grateful to be nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I don't feel that I've earned that right. I really do not want votes to be split because of me, so I respectfully bow out.
Okay.
Dolly's always so classy and always thinking of other people.
Dolly is Dolly. I mean, she is true and true to who she is and has always been. And it doesn't matter if you really followed her, musically or not. I mean, Dolly is a personality. She's larger than just her music. I mean, she does a lot. So she's more than Dolly will too.
And we've got a few things we're going to rush through, and then we've got two really hard-hitting topics that we need to discuss. Just an update on the Jussie Smollett case. This is coming from WGNTV.com, Chicago 9. Court orders Jussie Smollett released from jail during appeal. Jussie Smollett was ordered released from jail Wednesday by an appeals court that agreed with his lawyers that he should be released pending the appeal of his conviction for lying to police about a racist and homophobic attack. The ruling came after a Cook County judge sentenced Smollett last week to immediately begin serving 150 days in jail for his conviction on 5 felony counts of disorderly conduct for lying to the police. Yeah.
Okay.
No, we're not going to act crazy because I'm not talking to you right now.
Well, Urbane did not like that subject that we're talking about.
And just so you know, here's a news break, little update on stimulus checks. The IRS may ask for repayment if you don't fit into categories. So check with your accountant, check with whoever you go to for legal advice before you decide to request, apply for, or accept a stimulus check, because I would think that if you're in need of a stimulus check, you really can't afford to be paying it back.
Yeah.
So just a little something to keep in mind. Stop.
Right.
You're doing the most on purpose, just for attention. I love you, but no. And
right. So what they're basically saying was that there's a way to get it, but this time around it's not. It's not. It will be counted towards your income.
Yep, just like the first time. And then judge orders the Justice Department to hand over certain internal legal records to ex-Trump advisor Bannon. A U.S. judge on Wednesday ordered the Justice Department to provide former President Donald Trump's advisor, Steve Bannon, access to certain sensitive internal legal opinions and other related records that could potentially help bolster his defense against criminal contempt of Congress charges. Oh, the privilege is real with these people.
Wow. Yeah.
And
somehow we always have Bannon's name around everything. It's like, really?
think
like Mr. Breitbart?
He is Beelzebub. There was a Kremlin memo on Tucker Carlson that leaked, and it made its way to the internet. And one of the biggest quotes says, "It is essential to use as much as possible fragments of broadcasts of the popular Fox News host who sharply criticizes the actions of the United States and NATO and the defiantly provocative behavior towards the Russian Federation and towards President Putin personally."
Yeah. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? They know who's on their side. They know who's been condemning them. I mean, we had Pompeo praising him on TV, only for a couple days later the invasion to start. So we know who's been praising them. We know who's putting Biden last, which means America last. And yet somehow we're going right back into Biden's week. For what? Not having World War III? I mean, we are working with NATO. We are working with allies. We're not flying solo, and we have to consider everything when it comes to going in and assisting certain countries. Are they with NATO? Are they? You got to consider things other than, oh, it's just inhumane. Oh, look at those bombs dropping. you got Marjorie Taylor and those people that really, number one, they're a box of rocks, but there has to be thinking that goes into everything. You have to seek military and legal and you got to seek counseling on everything in order to make the right decisions to prevent things that could be detrimental to your country. Because if we take certain actions, we may be on our own. So we do have to play with allies. And obviously Trump didn't like allies. So the fact that we're doing it to prevent something that may end up getting bigger, yeah, in some cases we have to lend assistance and not troops on the ground, not boots on the ground. If it gets to a certain point where more is needed, then that's going to be something that's decided with others. Like I said, we always get in trouble if we're thinking about flying solo. We are a part of NATO. We do work with allies.
Very true.
So, but people do buy into the Marjorie Taylors and all those on the right that no matter what, they're going to take a negative out of a positive. And know good and well, if Trump was in there, it'd be World War III. But it wouldn't be because they're going against Russia. I don't think he would have the heart to go against his best buddy. So yeah, I mean, it's a whole different ballgame. And not that they really cared about our national intelligence anyways, because that agency was corrupted anyways. A lot of good career FBI guys either headed for the exit or were shown the exit. And if my father were alive, he would have been using quite a different vocabulary when it came to what was going on with the FBI.
I just bet. Okay, we got one quick video, and then we're going to get into a situation at a North Carolina school and an interesting sale that they had. But let's go to this video. Also about teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Something's in the air.
Student accused of attacking a teacher
What's new?
will not face charges because he's too young in the eyes of the law.
They eyes ain't my eyes.
This teacher actually needs surgery.
She getting hit by a kid and a deductible?
A 4- and 5-year-old began throwing things, flipping chairs.
Sound like they didn't need to be in the classroom.
The 5-year-old brought to another room to help calm him down.
Why he ain't go to the office? She was minding her own business.
He lunged at the teacher when she wasn't expecting it.
So he pulled a sneak attack.
Fallen backwards, smacked her head. Teacher was unresponsive.
That was a hard lunge.
Rushed to the hospital for a pretty major concussion.
I'd never go back.
Third time this teacher has had to be taken from the school
It happened before then?
because of injuries from this student.
What else he do to the lady?
Choked out.
What?
Bookshelf thrown on her.
Huh? I'd have threw it right back.
And now this concussion.
She's actually asked the school district for help
And I can tell you how that went.
more than once and told the district doesn't have the resources.
They got resources for everything else, though.
5 years old, and that is why he will not face charges.
My grandma always told me, you put yourself in a grown folks position, you know the rest.
The law basically saying he isn't old enough to know right from wrong.
Get off the gas. She would have did it to the kid, would have been on the news, parents would have been upset, and she'd have lost her job.
What do you
What?
mean
No.
that kids don't, that a 5-year-old doesn't know the difference between right and wrong?
I know when I was 5, I knew the difference between my mom's foot and my mom's foot in my rear end.
Exactly. But moving on, we have North Carolina mom says Black students were sold at school slave auction. Black students at North Carolina Middle School were reportedly sold by classmates during a slave auction last week, a move that prompted a letter from the county superintendent to families condemning unacceptable incidents. Ashley Palmer, whose son attends J.S. Waters, a K-8 school in Goldston, posted about the alleged auction on Facebook. WRAL TV reported. She said her son told her that one of his friends went for $350 during the March 4th auction, and another student was designated as a slave master because he knew how to handle them, the television station reported. Our son experienced a slave auction by his classmates, and when he opened up, we were made aware that this type of stuff seems to be the norm so much that he didn't think it was worth sharing, Palmer wrote in a Facebook post. We even have a video of students harmonizing the N-word. Since when were children so blatantly racist? According to this year's data, the 195 student school is 68% white, 12% black, and 12% Hispanic, and 6% of two or more races, the News and Observer of Raleigh reported. In a letter sent to parents on Tuesday night, Chatham County Superintendent Anthony Jackson told families that the district had become aware of recent incidents involving students, usually racially insensitive language and offensive imagery. As a school system and community, we cannot be silent in the face of incidents and behavior that create an unsafe or uncomfortable environment for students in our schools, Jackson wrote. No student, staff, or family should be silent when their humanity, dignity, or identity are threatened, disrespected, or Hold up. First of all, we're the adults.
Middle school.
I remember being in primary school. I had children that went to primary school. The tiny humans are now in primary school. There are teachers everywhere. So what teachers sat there and watched this happen and repeatedly? I'm going to go. See, this is why.
I mean, they almost made it sound like they were in a room running the room themselves.
But my thing is, this is why the universe gave me children when they gave me children, because this new shit that they letting fly, y'all will be getting conversations with Taz from prison, because I will be done stomp somebody to Jesus. I will stomp them to the bosom of the Lord. I wouldn't be making a Facebook post. It wouldn't be no Facebook post.
And the thing is, that's just one that came out. Like, this is the sort of thing that is out there. Like, this is sort of free speech that they're using. Now, are they hearing in their homes? You bet your bottom dollar they're getting this stuff out their homes, because we're not just talking about North Carolina. We're talking about a whole lot of states where this exists freely because of where the right is. And not to say they made it exist, no, but they brought it to the forefront and made it free as air in some of these cases. And what's being done? Who's running the show? Like, this is in school. This isn't like in somebody's backyard at somebody's house. This is in school. There's supposed to be actual adults around, regardless what their own personal feelings are. These kids are supposed to be being watched. Why does it sound like they're running the show?
And it sounds like what they're learning at home is so widely accepted that it's being reinforced at school.
Well, they got Christmas greeting cards with holding guns.
Tis true, tis true, tis true.
So where are we going next with this? It's like, really? Like, this made headlines in North Carolina. North Carolina is not one of the deep South.
But for all of you all that are anti-critical race theory being taught in schools, saying, oh, kids are too young to learn. These kids understood slavery enough to know that white kids couldn't be the slaves. And they chose a slave master because, as the article said, that child knew how to handle the slaves. They understand. They need to be taught the true history so they can stop this mess. But it doesn't get any better.
They've been watching a whole lot of Birth of a Nation.
Boy, the original Birth of a Nation.
Right, yeah.
Coming from ESPN.com, Houston Texans QB Deshaun Watson won't face criminal charges in connection with sexual misconduct allegations. A grand jury on Friday declined to indict Houston Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson following a police investigation sparked by lawsuits filed by 22 women who have accused him of harassment and sexual assault. Prosecutors from the district attorney's office in Harris County, Texas, presented evidence and testimony to the 12-person grand jury for over 6 hours on Friday related to 9 of the 10 criminal complaints filed against Watson. The grand jury, which does not require a unanimous vote, rejected all 9 cases. Prosecutors did not present the 10th. According to John Stallings, chief of the Adult Sex Crimes and Trafficking Division of the Harris County District Attorney's Office, the grand jury's decision ended criminal proceedings related to Watson in the Harris County, where Houston is located.
Now, why were so many women under the same law firm or lawyer? I'm curious why there weren't more that were independent from that, because they're taking this like a group package.
I will tell you from there are like a few very prominent
This
attorneys.
isn't Gloria Allred. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was going to say Gloria Allred is one of them. But what happens is one person comes out, and when they say, I know for a fact such and such and such and such and such and such experience also, the attorney will then contact them in exchange for them feeling comfortable enough to tell their story to that attorney and not feel like they're going to get bamboozled. They end up representing them.
Okay. But if it goes south, then it all goes south.
And that's what happens. And then the more you investigate, the more victims that you find. And it's easier to walk into an attorney's office and I go, say if I'm the attorney and I go, you know what, I will represent you. It's easier for you to trust me and not think that I'm going to throw you under the bus for my client and be like, screw you and your story. I'm just going to get, her justice.
That's my thing. It sounds like if there's a deal to be made, it's like, okay, well, if you're representing X number of women, that deal is going to cover everyone. Like this is a package deal. So not everybody may have had the same situation when dealing with Deshaun Watson. Some may have had a worse experience, but they're going to get thrown in that group package of that deal. So that's why I'm thinking some of these ladies are really came out on the short end of this, even though it's not completely done. Like people are still convinced that, oh, okay, we're back to, Deshaun's back, everything. There's still more proceedings that are going on the civil side of things. And all we're hearing about now is, teams drooling over getting Deshaun Watson. So that's, he's about to cash in big time.
This is the criminal charge for this county. We have no idea who else is out there that he may have assaulted allegedly or harassed allegedly, but that's that one county.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is they did not present the 10th person. So that 10th case, that 10th count can still be presented later.
Right.
And the civil proceedings, it's not as stringent. The burden of proof is not as high.
Right.
The amount of evidence you need is not as high either. So justice.
And either way, from what I'm hearing about from the NFL side of things, is that even if nothing comes about enough for him to be removed from the season, the word is that he'll get X number of games suspension for whatever conduct or.
Like, I know this is not a murder trial, but let's look at the case of O.J. Simpson. He was cleared in criminal court. It was civil court that took that man for everything that when I say he lost it all, including his sanity, and it propelled him into jail time anyway, because he lost so much that he started trying to steal back his own stuff.
We remember about his memorabilia.
Yeah. So there's justice was still served because he still ended up going to prison. And you can't tell me that judge didn't look at him like, oh, you got off before.
Yeah.
We're going to give you the max. And the one thing when you have somebody, because I've learned this, and I don't care if they're male, female, or non-binary, when someone is to the point where they're comfortable to repeatedly harass, sexually or otherwise, somebody, there's a level of narcissism. They like the power that they have in order to get away with it. When you remove that power, they can't handle it. They can't take it.
Right. So we can assume, everybody wants to assume that they know who that individual is by what they see on TV, or in this case, what an athlete does on the field. That's them doing their job. That's us going to our 9 to 5 job and getting it done in a good way. Once you get removed from that job setting, you're just like, that's the real you. Like,
Yeah, because do you know I have clients that think that I have zero sense of humor? I have clients that every time I meet with them, they're like, "Well, make sure you do something fun. Do you have friends? Do you go out with your friends?" They think that I have zero sense of humor, that I don't do anything, that I'm just closed off because in my career in a professional
you
setting,
take it serious.
I have to be serious. I'm a woman working in IT, so I have to be straightforward. Da 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 da. I can't really do the small talk, the chit chat on the side. So I get why they see me that
Yes.
way. But on the flip side, people who have never done business with me and have only been social with me
Like the
can't
comic store.
imagine me being dead serious. They're like,
Like the comic store.
yeah, like oh my goodness, the people at the comic book store. They're like, you're serious at times? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. They don't. Yeah. I mean, we get business sides. I mean, people see the business side of me, even though I do end up incorporating, real ginger in there anyways. But I do take very professional. I know my job. I know what I need to do. I can't always be goofy because in certain settings, you have to remain a certain way because that's part of being professional. And you don't want to portray yourself as someone who's less than, who's always joking, because if you're always joking, people interpret that as you're not really serious about this, or you don't really know your stuff. So yeah, I mean, you have to, like they say, shift gears. And I talk to people all the time about being able to shift gears. You're one way with your friends, another way when you're on the clock. You got to be able to shift gears. Some people can't. Some people only have one gear.
Well, our favorite Frankfurt resident
Mhm.
told me that I was fake because one, he didn't understand what code switching was.
Mhm.
And he was like, you're fake because you talk to everybody different. I don't talk to everybody different, but even when I'm outside of a professional setting, I'm going to talk to my father differently than I talk to my friends. I talk to my siblings different than I talk to anybody else because I have more liberties with them. I can say things that I can't say to the average person that I can say to them. When I'm talking to my friends, yes, I'm going to sound different and be different than if I'm talking to customer service. I'm not going to call customer service and be like, "What's up, dog? How you do?" No. They don't have time for my shenanigans. They don't know customer service agent want to hear my jokes no matter how funny I
So,
think they are.
so you're
That's not
saying you talk different to the tiny humans?
nah. They just they just get it. Although this weekend the girls almost met Jesus because they touched my makeup.
Oh, not the girls. Oh,
And they know better. I said, mm-mm. And AJ sat there like I told them, and they was jumping on the bed.
yeah, that's Big Brother.
But your
Oh,
final
good.
thoughts on tonight?
Um, the only thought I have is something that we haven't talked about, and it's just a thought, just a hope. Um, the news this past week has been about Cap working out with receivers, throwing the ball, staying in shape, wanting to get a chance. I don't know what it's going to take, but I'm hopeful that somebody will take a serious look because, like I said, we're going years now from the last time he started, so it's getting slimmer and slimmer. Not to say the guy it hasn't stayed in shape, but
If Brady
I can tell you from experience here in
if Brady
Charlotte.
can do 23 seasons,
Mhm,
they can give Cap a job. And I think at this point, it would have to take a trifecta of the following.
mhm,
Even if it's a minority owner,
mhm,
part of the ownership would have to be a person of color.
mhm,
the GM would have to be a person of color and the coach would have to be a person of color.
Mhm.
Because there needs to be an understanding of why Cap did and does what he does.
Right.
Because he didn't break a law. He didn't disrespect anyone.
Right.
He took a stand to say, hey, stop killing my brethren in the
Right.
street. But hey, NFL, if you want Netflix to keep paying him, to keep telling his story, and to keep making you look bad instead of giving the people what they want and let him make money for you, that's on you, NFL. That's on you. But I'm
Have
just
we
saying.
not seen what the second and third string quarterbacks look like out there? I don't care how long Cap's been out of the game. He's still looking a whole lot better than some of these second and third string quarterbacks. Now, will he get a shot to be a starter? I don't know. It depends on the situation.
I'm just saying, he looking better than us. There are three starters right now.
Living here in Charlotte, there's a lot of people here that had a whole lot in Cam returning home, but Cam always stays in shape. He just doesn't always have it on the field. So staying in shape is one thing. Doing things live is another. I'm just hopeful that someone gives
reliable as his Cam Newton is as reliable as his fashion, and that fashion is questionable.
Yes.
But before we hit the outro, for all of you all that keep saying because gas prices keep getting high, you want to trade in your car for a horse, this lovely black woman has some advice for you.
Join the
So I see a lot of people joking, talking about, oh, I'm going to go get a horse because gas is too high. You think gas is too high? One of these bad boys, $23.50 per bale. And it might last you 2 days. These barrels of food, about $85 a piece, might last you a month if you have one horse. This right here to keep the mice out your grain, gonna cost you your sanity. All of this back there for a full complete set, at least $1,000. A set of these, $100 to $200 every 6 weeks. And don't let there be a vet bill because it's about $300 just for the vet to start their car. Bedding is about $130 per pallet. Long story short, cars are definitely cheaper.
And as
so
always,
you're saying the Amish are wealthy. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Well, they can do all that themselves. But as always, each one teach one, each one reach one. Till next week, y'all.